Hey friends, Ash here with gentsscents. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be talking about batch codes. So I'm going to be letting you guys know what a batch code is, why a batch code is or isn't important. Can you use a batch code to verify whether your fragrance is authentic or fake? All that stuff. So I got an email the other day and the person had some questions about batch codes, some things that had been said online, a bunch of different stuff. And I figured, why not just do a video and kind of cover all this batch code talk, all this batch code stuff, let you guys know what I've learned over the years. So let's go ahead and just jump into this. Batch codes, what is it? So a batch code, in case you're unaware of what it is, I'm sure you've heard it talked about if you've watched fragrance reviews and stuff like that, but batch code is put onto typically the box and bottle of each fragrance that is produced. So sometimes they'll be on a sticker on the bottom of a bottle. This is an old bottle of Gucci Envy. There's a sticker and the batch code is right here. So you can see it right there in white. And I would say nowadays that's the most common place you're gonna find a batch code on the bottle is a sticker on the bottom of the bottle. Sometimes though, like in this old bottle of Fahrenheit, it will be on the bottle itself, etched into the glass. This one is actually on the side, on the bottom of the bottle. So you'll see those batch codes sometimes etched into the glass, either on the bottle somewhere or the bottom of the bottle. Depends really on the manufacturer and the fragrance. And also they'll typically be on the box, either printed in ink or kind of embossed into the bottom of each box, sometimes the back. So those are batch codes, and depending on the fragrance brand that we're talking about, the batch codes could be 4 digits long, they could be 7, they could be 5, they could be 6. It really depends on the manufacturer. Manufacturers put batch codes onto each fragrance so that they know when that particular fragrance was manufactured, in case for any reason there's an issue and they need to identify which batch that issue is from. And it's not just fragrances, obviously, that have batch codes. You can find that in just about every product that's made, including foods and drinks and really just about anything. And you'll hear that a lot actually in the news when there's a recall. They'll say if your package of chicken nuggets has this lot number on it, throw it out. It's that similar idea. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, let's go over some of the things that crop up with fragrance batch codes. Some things that maybe if you're just getting into fragrances would be helpful to know. One thing that you'll see very often is that batch codes are the #1 way to tell whether your fragrance is fake or authentic. So the idea here is that you go to checkfresh.com or checkcosmetic.com, which I have over here on my laptop just off screen. You put in the batch code. Well, first you select the brand, then you put in the batch code and you click check. And then if it comes back with a good batch code, you're good to go. Your fragrance is legit. If it comes back with a bad batch code or a missing batch code or something like that, then, oh no, you have a fake. And that's actually not true. That's completely a myth. And I'll tell you why. If somebody's going to make a fake fragrance, they're gonna go through the hassle of getting a knockoff bottle, a knockoff fragrance, a knockoff box, or a tester box. A lot of times you'll see fakes in tester boxes, but that's for another time. They're gonna go through all that hassle, right? And then they're not gonna bother to take 2 seconds and put a real batch code on it. They're gonna make up a fake one. No. They can just as easily take a real batch code, slap it onto a fake bottle, and send it off on its merry way. And then you go to Check Fresh or Check Cosmetic, put in that batch code, it comes back legit, and you go, huh, this bottle looks completely janky. It smells like trash. It actually smells like sewer water. And it's falling apart in my hands. The paint is flaking off, but the batch code came back good, so it's legit. No, turns out. Batch code is not the #1 way to tell whether your fragrance is fake or real. It's just not. There are many videos already on YouTube that highlight different very popular fragrances fake bottles. So like Bleu de Chanel, for example, you can type in real versus fake Bleu de Chanel and it'll pull up multiple videos. You can check those and see how the fakes look. I would say that if you're familiar with fragrances at all, with fragrance presentations, with the way that they should look, with the way that they should feel, you can tell a fake from a real fragrance 99.9 times out of 100. So this really mainly just affects people that are just getting into fragrances that don't know what to look for. But if you're familiar with fragrances, You should, again, 99.9 times out of 100, be able to tell what is real, what is fake. I have purchased fake bottles in the past, both purposely and not purposely, and every single time I could tell the second that it came in and I had it in my hand that it was fake before I even opened up the box. For example, I bought a bottle of Escada Magnetism maybe 4 or 5 years ago. That fragrance is discontinued, it's highly sought after. I paid a pretty good price for it. I paid like $105, $110, and that's not what it would usually go for, but it's still a decent amount of money. So I thought, you know, maybe this is legit. I got it in. The second I opened it, it was very obvious that it was fake. The lettering wasn't really smooth on the bottle. It was kind of like curvy, as if somebody had, you know, stuck it on by hand, the stickers that said Escada Magnetism. It was really obvious, and the bottle was all scuffed up, didn't smell right. It was just really crappy. And like I said, if you search online, you can find videos showing you fake and real fragrances. Take a look at those, you'll see what I'm talking about. It is usually very, very, very obvious. If you're familiar with the original fragrance, you should be able to pick out a fake pretty quickly. And even the good fakes that are a lot closer to the original, those are still pretty bad, at least in terms of the overall quality, and the fragrance is not good in fakes. So all of that out of the way, you cannot use a batch code, only a batch code rather, to tell whether a fragrance is real or fake. You just can't. You can't rely only on a batch code. Another thing, batch codes cycle typically. A lot of companies will do batch codes in a 10-year cycle, so they'll repeat every 10 years. And some companies don't tell you how often their batch codes cycle. And another thing on Check Fresh and Check Cosmetic, they don't actually have every batch code from all these different manufacturers in here. So sometimes you can have a completely 100% authentic, legitimate fragrance, put the batch code in, and it will pop back and say, no, that batch code doesn't exist, it's not good. As an example, this right here, Ferragamo Intense Leather from Salvatore Ferragamo. This is their newest release. I bought this directly from Ferragamo's website. So this is straight from the manufacturer. The batch code is right here on the bottom. I'll show it to you guys. So there it is, it's on the sticker. It's actually not super easy to read right here. It's easier to read on the box. Here's the box. It is 21K01AR1. But I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put this in, and feel free to follow along if you want, on Check Fresh and Check Cosmetic. Let's see what it says. So Check Fresh, nothing. Batch code 21K01AR1 pulls up, absolutely nothing. Now we go to Check Cosmetic, nothing. Error, specified code is not supported or is not correct. So even though I bought this fragrance directly from the manufacturer, a 0% chance that this is fake. It's not on either website. Another thing that pops up, or has popped up a little bit lately, is what is going to happen with this one. This is Spice Bomb Infrared from Viktor and Rolf. I bought this from Nordstrom. Let's go ahead and put in this batch code, which is 22U10D4. So if you put this in on Check Cosmetic, it comes back with an error. If you put this in on Check Fresh, it comes back as being made in January of 1999, 22 years ago. This was purchased full retail, $110 from Nordstrom.com. Nordstrom does not sell fakes, period. Macy's, Nordstrom, Harrods, companies like this, they don't sell fakes, ever. They get these fragrances from the vendor, then they sell them to you. Again, there is no chance that they're fake. The batch code pops up incorrectly on Check Fresh, and that's on this website. The website is incorrect. The fragrance is legitimate. So again, you can't go by this batch code here. And if you're buying a fragrance from a store like Macy's, like Nordstrom, like Holt Renfrew up in Canada, like Harrods in the UK, they're legit, period. And like here, Check Cosmetic and Check Fresh, they don't match up. Check Cosmetic, if you put in that batch code, they don't even have it in there. Check Fresh comes back a 22-year-old fragrance. You can't go solely by these websites. They're tools. They're tools to be used. They can help you understand your fragrance a little bit. If you have a good idea about what you're looking at, they can give you a better pinpoint on when a lot of fragrances are made, but they're still incorrect on a lot of other things too. So you can't just go by these websites is what I'm saying. And if you're really super ultra paranoid, if you're that type, you could write to the company with the badge code and say, hey, I bought this at Nordstrom. Here's the badge code. Can you tell me if it's real? If you get a response, they'll be like, yeah, why wouldn't it be? And just as another example with that whole cycling thing that I talked about before, here is Fahrenheit Eau de Toilette. This is a vintage bottle. Down here is the badge code. It's 2J02. It's really hard to see. It's right here, 2J02. So let's go ahead and put that in. Now this is gonna show the same thing on either website, Check Fresh or Check Cosmetic. 2J02 shows that this bottle was made in 2012, September of 2012. This isn't from 2012. This one is actually from 2002, so it's that 10-year cycle. But if you didn't know that, you might think this is 2012 if you go onto Check Cosmetic and type that in. And then if you looked even further, you would see that in 2012, they actually had a different presentation with the bottle, and then you might get all confused and be like, wait a second, is this a knockoff? Now, to be fair, on checkfresh.com, they do let you know with a lot of houses that the cycles do repeat every so often, but not always. And it's like that for a lot of older fragrances. Like if I put in this Gucci Envy or if I put in this Kenzo Air, it's gonna be incorrect on Check Fresh. It's going to say that they were made actually long after they had already been discontinued. And like I've said a number of times, it's that whole cycle thing that doesn't always get reflected correctly on Check Fresh or Check Cosmetic. And I know I talked about trusted stockists, like Nordstrom, Macy's, etc., but discounters as well, your really well-known discounters, they're not in the business of selling fakes. I know a lot of people get really paranoid about buying from discounters sometimes, but they wouldn't be in business very long if they just constantly sold fakes to people, because that would get around, nobody would buy there anymore. Now, those are gray market fragrances, and if you're unaware of what a gray market fragrance is, you can Google that or search it on YouTube and you'll pull up a whole bunch more information. I'm not gonna go over that here, because this video will run way too long if we start going into that. Those are gray market fragrances. Now, where they are selling gray market fragrances, those discounters, is there the possibility, a really slim possibility, that you buy a fragrance from there and it wasn't stored properly before you got it, and so then maybe the fragrance is not up to snuff? That's possible. Is that likely? No, it's really unlikely actually, but you could be unlucky, that could happen. Now, if you buy something from wish.com or a place like that, you know, a place where they're saying, hey, you know these niche fragrances that usually go for 400 bucks? We're selling them for 20. And then you go, wow, what a good deal. And you buy it and it turns out to be fake? Yeah, I mean, that's possible. But if you stick to places that are trusted and you don't fall for those sellers and websites that offer you fragrances that are super expensive for not even pennies on the dollar, you should be safe. So this video ran really long. Basically, it's just to let you know that yes, Check Fresh and Check Cosmetic can be useful tools. They can help you know when your fragrances were manufactured. A lot of them, not all of them. They don't even actually have all the brands on here to where you can do it, but it's a useful tool. But it is not something to take as gospel. It's not something that you would say, oh, Check Cosmetic says this, therefore I know that this is real or this is fake. Not at all. It would be really easy if that were the case, but it's not. Like I said, if you're paranoid that something you bought is fake, look up online for versions of that bottle that actually are fake. But a lot of times, I would say 95 times out of 100, when somebody thinks, oh, this isn't fake and my badge code says this or that, and I don't say this to be mean, it's usually paranoia. Like when somebody says, I bought this at Macy's, I think it's fake. No, it's not. All right guys, there we go. I know the video ran long, but if you didn't really understand badge codes and why they get talked about and why they matter, there's kind of a quick primer for you. I had a lot of other fragrances here that I was actually going to look up and show you the inconsistencies with Check Fresh and Check Cosmetic, but you get the idea, and it's kind of beating a dead horse if we go through 8 or 9 different fragrances just to point out, hey, it's different here than here, or hey, the date doesn't match what this actually is because of this reason or that reason. I would also caution you guys that if somebody tells you, hey, if this doesn't show up on Check Fresh, then it's a definite fake. If somebody says that or something along those lines, they don't know what they're talking about. And I don't say that to be mean, I'm just saying they don't know what they're talking about. They've not been around very long, most likely. So, you know, I wouldn't listen too much to that. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for your support. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.